Hello and welcome to this lesson, which was talking about linguistic diversity and learners with English as a second language. So let's get into the objectives first and foremost. After this lesson, you will be able to better understand the difficulties that come with being a student with English as a second language, utilize strategies to overcome the difficulties in teaching these students, utilize the tools to help the ESL learners overcome these language boundaries, and overall provide a better learning experience for ESL learners as a whole. Now, you're going to hear ESL said a lot in this video. Just to clarify one more time, those are learners with English as a second language. Let's get into how a struggling student feels. There's a lot of emotions that go through a struggling student's mind. They're frustrated, they feel different, they can get angry and confused. It's overall not a great experience. This guy here, he's a struggling student, and we've all been there. We all know how it feels to struggle. Now, take all those emotions and put a language barrier in between you and your teacher. That's how a struggling ESL student feels. On top of the previous emotions, they can also feel alienated, outcast, shy, separated from the classroom as a whole. It can make them feel less smart. They can forget their question altogether if they're asking a question, and there's so much of a language barrier that they can't even get the question out properly because they're trying to explain themselves, and overall they just have more difficulties, right? So they feel less smart even though they're not. And then they also feel voiceless, powerless, and out of place. And these are all negative emotions, right, that just make a student feel like they can't get help, right? And it oftentimes makes them feel like a ghost in their own classroom, which is not the environment we want to foster. The good news is we can help students overcome these boundaries, and we can help foster their growth just like any other student. So how can we do that? Let's talk about some strategies to help these students. Okay, so this is going to apply in many different ways. This is also to help you guys get the ball rolling on thoughts of ways you can implement your own strategies to help them. If these aren't, this list isn't definitive. This isn't the only ways you can help. You guys are creative. You can come up with content and help them in your own ways. But let me give you a few of these. First off, there's misordered sentences, which is meant to help with grammar. So this is like you give them a sentence in the wrong order and tell them to correct it. Then there's also simulating real world conversations, which helps the learners become more conversational, and it helps them apply the things that they've learned into actually communicating their feelings and their knowledge. And then there's also this one that I think is a really cool idea. It's called a wiki collaboration, where a lot of learners get together and they collaborate on a subject, and it helps the learner practice in groups their English and learn new things and possibly new words, and students can help each other out along this process. So that's a few ways to help. Few different methods with different ideas, and not everyone's gonna have like the basic learner, right? You may have someone who's more advanced and requires advanced techniques. Well, here's some good creative ideas to help out with that. The first one I have here is dubbing television shows. Okay, so this is like practicing lip reading, right? To apply the knowledge they know, or the knowledge and words they have learned to the situation. So imagine they're watching a TV show on mute, and they have to read the lips of the actors and caption it as they go along. So it not only helps them write out sentences in the ways that they think they're spoken, but it also helps them maybe apply words to specific situations, and they can go back and watch the tape again to see how close they were. So that's just one way to get the ball rolling. There's also watching shows with captions. So this is just reinforcing words and allows audio and visual connections between them. So think about them watching a show in perhaps their primary language, and the captions are in English, so they can associate words in their language to words in English. That's that may not work for everyone, but it is an interesting method for them to try passively. I also have defining words and using them in sentences, right? So like doing this with more complicated words would also increase the difficulty with skill. Like just have them define words from the dictionary, look up the definition, and have them use them in sentences, and help them work out why or why they're using it incorrectly, and overall it helps them expand their vocabulary and practice grammar at the same time. Then there's also the fun strategies, which are my favorite. These are things that you can use like in a real classroom environment, or maybe they'll help you get the ball rolling, perhaps in a different type of environment. I know, uh, some of you may be in different environments. Then that's fine. These are just kind of fun ways you can incorporate these, and maybe they'll get you the ball rolling on things you can provide them passively to do on their own. Well, the first thing I have is grammar races, which is sort of an in-class type deal, right? And so that's where the classes get together and they go to the like there's a incorrect sentence on the board, and each team races to correct incorrect sentences, right? And whoever goes wins. It's a fun little lighthearted competition, and they get to practice at the same time. Then there's also what is it, which is like a 20 questions but for guessing words. It helps them get definitions and like describe them, and use different descriptive words and things. This is just great vocabulary exercise. Then there's also a mock news channel production, which is a way for the students to go through news material and recite it. Maybe see new, exciting words, and it maybe allows them some creative freedom. While at the same time reinforcing language skills, which is always a great way to get people to learn things, is to make it fun and engaging, and combining two things that they may love. Uh, then there's also word guessing games like Heads Up. This is a very social version of like what is it? Students will have like you've seen the cards on their foreheads with the picture and the name underneath, and the person has to describe it, and the person with the card has to guess what it is, and they have to do the same for their partner. Just a fun, lighthearted game, and a lot of people are audio learners. Like I myself like to listen to music when I study, and maybe make songs of my own to learn material and remember things for tests. Well, the same concept can be said with sing-alongs. Help students learn maybe more English phrases through singing them. Give them a little melody. It maybe make recall a little bit easier. And then this one's a really creative solution. It's watching their favorite television shows with closed captioning. Now, this can be in English or Spanish, not Spanish, but their primary language. Watching their favorite television shows with closed captioning could like help reinforce the uh, the language they're learning, right? So they could do this all the time. Just always watch TV with captions, and they'll be at home and they'll see their favorite show. Whether say I watch SpongeBob, it'll have SpongeBob coming up, and I'll see the words he says, and I'll hear them, so it'll make that association. And if they're more comfortable, seeing things in a different like their primary language, like say I watch SpongeBob in Spanish, then you can use English subtitles to make that association like I discussed in the previous slide. And then there's also tools to incorporate, which I'd like to talk about. So first of all, we have Voxy, which is more of a English for any career type deal. This may be for more advanced learners. But what's really cool is they have specialized courses for different things. So like they have business English, they have English for healthcare professionals, that type of thing, right? And so this is definitely for the upper level, educators, and it can it can really help people who are maybe in your degree program or in your classes, and they need to learn some, maybe widen their vocabulary on the subject. And this is a great way to do that, and it's a great tool to recommend to them, as they're going through this process. And then I also have here early reading activities, which is great for people who are really early on in English. Maybe not so early that they need to take pre-K English, but maybe they are on 7th through 12th grade English, and there's exercises for all types of that stuff. And there's a lot more than that to it too, but you should definitely check it out. Links will be in the description for all of these. Then there's also interactive writing games, which are fun writing games for kids, but for an ESL student, they could also help grasp concepts that a lot of us don't think about when we use our English. So definitely check out that. They have games, featuring like reading games, writing games, grammar games, all sorts of games that are applicable to all skill levels. And then there's also the Learn English website. This is probably the more professionally done. It's kind of a one-stop shop. They not only have, courses, but they also have like just specific targeted lessons that you can just click to, which is really nice. It probably is the best place to go for just a one-stop shop. Maybe this is a good reference to just recommend to someone in general. I'll let you check that out. And then there's also the picture dictionaries, right? And so what's really cool about this will help visual learners really associate words with pictures, and it may help them make that connection that they're needing to widen their vocabulary. Like, let me take you to an example here. Like, I don't think fairy tales are too popular to teach, in any language, but they can come to like this reference and see, oh, scepter is a stick with a funny thing on the end. Maybe a king uses that. And they can make those associations through pictures, because a lot of these words are weird and you'll probably never see them, so they may confuse people, especially people who don't have English as a first language. So that's just a neat little thing to think about. I think it's useful for everybody across the board. And then there's also translators. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Google Translate. It's a great free resource. It is not perfect by any stretch of the means, but it is something that shouldn't be ignored. It's not perfect. See, like we can go English to Spanish here. So I want to say hello in Spanish and say I'm trying to learn Spanish as my second language. I'm going to get hola and all of these different things, and we'll flip it back and forth. Hola, you get all these weird versions of hi, hey. I've never used hello or hallo, but it's not perfect, but it gives you options, and it's just a fun little tool to play around with, and it could be useful. All right, so moving on. Important things to remember when you're teaching ESL students: always be understanding and patient with them. They're like any student who's trying to learn. They have to overcome the boundaries, and we have to just be there for them. And help in any way we can. And it's important that we accommodate for different learning styles when we're trying to help these ESL learners. You know your students better than most people do, and you kind of know what they succeed in, and you can set them up for success with any of the strategies I've talked about or ones that you create. And always be available to help them, in anything. If they ask for help, understanding words, it's best for them to know that you're there for them, and that'll make them feel more comfortable and more included in the classroom. It'll help eliminate some of those negative emotions altogether. And I highly recommend you encourage independent study, because that seems to be, a way that they can make a continuous improvement after they leave your classroom. They can continually develop their skills, and it'll be fun for them. I think that's the key to making someone love something for, love learning about something for a long time, is just to make it fun and make them want to keep doing it, right? And so that is going to make everybody happy and feel included, and it's going to eliminate all those negative emotions we talked about early on. And that's the end goal, is to make everybody feel, included and welcome. At the end of the day, diversity can often be seen as a struggle that we got to get through. There's a lot of challenges that come with linguistic diversity. But at the end of the day, if we all work through these things, it can become one of our biggest strengths, right? And so at the end of the day, it's worth all the challenges to overcome. And I'm sure that everyone who is struggling with English as a second language would greatly appreciate your help with it. And so at the end of the day, it's all in the good nature of including everyone. All right, that's all I have time for. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.